additional resources. Oh, we're recording. I don't know if you guys heard that. But there are some slides with some additional resources, and I do plan on sending out these slides after GMM, so that way you have them and you can actually access the additional resources, and then we'll have some time for some question and answers. So getting into it. So what makes a good leader? So this is from a Forbes article, and the characteristics of a great leader. The first one they say is sincere enthusiasm, and that's exactly as it sounds. It is being sincerely enthusiastic about your organization, about the work that you do, its mission. They say that is one of the characteristics of a great leader. Another is integrity, and that is kind of how it sounds. It's doing what's right for the organization. And sometimes if we think about it in junior league terms, if you're on the board, having integrity means that you're going to do you have a fiduciary duty, and we can get into that later, but doing what's right for the organization, even if it's personally like that wasn't your top choice. Like you're like, I really wish we would have done this, but the board voted this, or, management voted this. And just doing what's right for the organization, knowing that that's the way forward, and this is what's going to be best for us. And that can be even in a committee level, it's showing respect for your committee on, what the choices they make, even if it's not personally your own, but just having that integrity to do the right thing for your committee, for your board, for the organization itself. It can, be as small and big or big as you want it to be. Next is great communication skills, which I think I'm sure you're probably sick to death of this. I feel like they tell us this all the time in school. And so I hear it literally every day of my life. But one of the biggest ones is just figuring out the right way to communicate with your group. What worked in one group might not work in another. So just kind of taking the time to understand how, best to communicate with your group, whether it's email, whether it's picking up the phone and calling them. Some people might prefer group text. I'm horrible at group text. I can't function. I just can't stay on top of it. So, so just kind of figuring out, getting kind of staying on top, or getting that taken care of, right away, to make sure that you're communicating well with your group, and that, there's no breakdowns there. And then also remembering that listening is an important part of being a good communicator. So not just, dictating to your committee or to your board or to your management team, but also actively listening to that group as well. Next, loyalty, and that does not mean that you instill fear in your group so that they remain loyal to you, but it's a two-way street. So you want your not only loyalty from, say, your committee members, but you also want them to be loyal to you, but you need to be loyal to them. And so that can be done by ensuring that your committee or your board or your management team have the tools and resources that they need to succeed. And it also means being an advocate for them within the organization. So really, speaking up for them and their needs as well. So that is about loyalty. And decisiveness. So that doesn't mean that you just make decisions and you make them quickly, but it also means that you take accountability for those decisions that you do make. And so a good leader doesn't make decisions, decisively and quickly in a vacuum. They, encourage consensus among their group. But on the flip side of that is that they also know when to end an endless debate and make that decision. So that is what they mean by decisiveness. And then managerial competence. I don't know. They mentioned that in sports, so in the Forbes article, they mentioned in sports that the best players don't always make the best coaches. So even if you're really great at your job, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great manager or leader. So kind of having so even if you're really great at your job, you still need some of these other skills to be an effective leader, and provide mentoring to the people in your group. And then empowerment. So Junior League has said this one before, that empowered women empower women. So an empowered leader is going to empower their committee members, and then they're going to empower them to act independently and tackle tasks on their own so that they feel empowered, and that helps generate, future leaders when they're empowered to take on those tasks and have the resources that they need to succeed. And then finally, charisma. So there, Forbes says, leaders need to be empowered and decisive, but they also need to be approachable and likable, because people apparently are generally more likely to follow the lead of someone that they like. So I guess to me, I still don't know what charisma is. Like, if you asked me to define it, I couldn't tell you. I'm not 100% sure, but apparently, just being likable is good. You don't want to be a dictator. So that's that. So those are what, that's from the Forbes, and I have it linked here too. So when I send out the slides, you'll be able to go to the articles yourself and read them too for more in depth. And then this is from the Council of Nonprofits on what makes a great board member. So according to them, a great board member, and this can be, they say great board member, but this could be a great manager as well. It could be a great committee member, just a great leader in the nonprofit space in general, but they focus on strengthening the community. And that means that they are servant leaders, they are a trustee of the community, and they work for the common good. They have like a broader perspective than their the nonprofit. They're able to link the nonprofit to kind of the broader nonprofit sector. And they want to transform the community, and they're a servant first. If you want to talk about servant leadership, please see me. I had a whole class on it last semester. Happy to discuss it. Can give you some homework too. But being a servant leader to the community is you serve first, and you ask how can I help others? That's kind of what being a servant leader is you want to serve other people first. That is your goal, to help others succeed, and kind of empower them to be successful. And then working for the common good, it's not just the good of the organization, but your members of the organization, but the community at large. So it's kind of seeing where you are in like the broader perspective and how we can all work together for good for the entire community. So that's according to the Council of Nonprofits. So now if you're thinking like, that's great, I don't have any of these skills, or I only have some of these skills, so clearly I'm not cut out for leadership. Hold on, because I want to remind you of our mission here at JLSP, which is we are an organization of women committed to promoting volunteerism, developing the potential of women, and improving communities through the effective action and leadership of trained volunteers. And we're exclusively educational and charitable. So we're here to develop the potential of women. Like, we're not here to take super skilled, perfect women that already have all these characteristics to utilize them for our, mission and our purpose. Like, no, we're here to help you develop those skills, to train. So if listen to me rattle off all those things and thinking like, wow, I have never done any of that, or I don't have all those characteristics or anything like that, that's okay. That's totally fine. That's why we're here. That's why you're here, is to learn those in junior league. I've been in here 9 years, and from where I started to where I am now is night and day. Like, I had never led a committee. I had never run a meeting like where I had to come up with an agenda, nothing like that, when I first started. So I've developed all those skills through junior league and got to actually utilize some of them in work as I progressed through work as well, because I was fairly young when I joined junior league. I like to think, but just as you grow professionally, as I grew in the league, like all of those like things that I learned in the league were able to go put into my professional life as well. Like, I didn't know how to think strategically, and I'm still working on that. I'm not perfect at being a strategic planner, but I'm definitely a lot better at it than I was when I first started, because I had no idea what a strategic plan was or what that meant. But again, those are things that I learned here, and I didn't have those skills when I was first on board. But again, it's part of the learning process, part of developing women in the league. That's what we do. I also had no idea the ins and outs of selling a commercial property, but Erica, Anna, and I, we somehow figured it out, and we did it. And it actually helped me later on down the road, oddly enough. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about leadership. If you're thinking like, oh, I don't have the skills to do that right now, like, that's okay. That's totally fine. We understand that, and we want to help you develop those skills. So hopefully this works. If not, I have it pulled up just in case that it didn't work. But this is Joan Gary, and she is kind of my hero in the nonprofit sector. She runs a podcast called Nonprofits Are Messy. She's written a book. She's got a website. But I love her. She's the best, and she's just a wealth of information. So this is a little video. It's why you should join a nonprofit board, but I think it's applicable to leadership in general, why you should join nonprofit leadership in general. So I'm really hoping that I can make this work. Can you hear it? Oop. Hold on, turns out if I mute myself, I mute everything.
Can I ask you to stop for just 2 minutes and think about something? I want you to consider joining a nonprofit board. Nonprofits all across this country are desperate for people just like you. I bet you're deeply committed to a few key issues. Maybe you're tired of looking at a playing field that isn't level for everyone. Or maybe you're so damn tired of the ugly world we live in, you just want to be part of the solution. Maybe you just want to get out of the stands and onto the field. So consider joining a board. My friend Joe will tell you that his board service was transformational. Here's a guy who cared deeply about immigrant rights, couldn't sit idly by, so he joined a board. He developed leadership skills, a group of kindred spirits, networking opportunities, and he felt like he was part of something bigger than himself. He felt valued and valuable. And he took some of that with him to his professional life, where he now holds a higher level leadership position. Do you think you don't have time to join a board? I didn't think so either, but I made the time because I care that much. And do you think you have to be rich or know someone that's rich?
Sorry.
Can I bust that myth right here and now? No and no. All you have to do is care enough to talk about the organization to people, to invite them to know more and to do more. And that doesn't take money to do it all. So do me a favor. If you know somebody who'd be an awesome board member, can you share this video? And if you think it's you, take a few minutes, do a little homework, and please, for yourself and for the organization you will serve, join a board, please.
So I just wanted to share that because I feel like I know a lot of people that would be great for a board. So I just wanted to share that with all of you, but I think she's great. I love her podcast. Please check her out. That's my plug for Joan Gary. And now I don't know how to get on to the next slide. Okay, yay, I did it. All right, so with that in mind on joining a board or leadership in general at Junior League of St. Paul, what are some of the things that you can learn? One is you will learn how to run an effective meeting for people that who don't work for you. And this, I feel like you might think, oh, I run meetings at work. It is entirely different when the people that are in your meeting are not getting paid to be there. It is an entirely different skill set to engage and motivate and mentor people that are volunteering their time. And I wish I could wax more on that, but it is like trying to be that motivator to get people engaged, to be passionate about the work we do. It is just a different skill set, and it's a really good one to have because you can, again, transfer that into many different facets in your life, not just, here at Junior League, but, any other organization that you go to. That's just a great skill to have to be a community leader in general. You will learn to play nicely in the sandbox. And now that might seem like, oh, I'm going to learn how to deal with difficult people. But it's not exactly that. It is more about diplomacy. And that's, again, a useful skill to have in work, at home, just in general. So in nonprofit setting, when you're working with volunteers, it's for some of the reasons we mentioned above, they're not being paid to be here. So it's important that they have an opportunity to let their voice be heard. And so as leaders, that is our job to ensure that they are. We want to make sure that our members are, having their voices be heard in the organization. And sometimes it can feel like if you're not on leadership, your voice isn't being heard. And that's kind of what it means about playing nicely in the sandbox, is that you're going to be kind of that advocate for the members at large to make sure that their voices are being heard. And then you will stretch all your intellectual and emotional muscles. So this brings me back to selling a commercial property and how that helped me later on in life. So I am currently in school, am part of the nonprofit legal clinic. So we are student attorneys. We take on clients pro bono, and specifically nonprofits. That's who we work with. And we had a client that had some property and zoning questions. And my professor's like, hey, who wants to take the zoning portion? I was like, oh, I can do that. I have some experience. And so it was just, I had to laugh that I was just like, I can't believe that I'm back here again, researching zoning laws and commercial to residential property, like in a different county. But it's like, I knew exactly where to go to look for the information. Like I knew what some challenges might be because I learned it at junior league first. So that's kind of that. So it's not necessarily, you're going to learn all the things that we talk about, but there's also so much more that just kind of comes up when you take on these leadership skills. Like I'm sure, I can't remember if Anna's on, but yeah, I'm sure Erica, when she was like, I'm going to be president-elect, was not thinking like, I have to learn how to sell a house now and figure out all this.
I think the house sale might be like a once in a lifetime situation, but it sure taught us a lot of stuff. And it also gave us an opportunity to flex our Marie Kondo muscles as we were cleaning out the house too, which was nice.
Yep. And then even, and then finding a new space for headquarters. Those are things that, might be once in a lifetime, but how we renew the lease and thinking about is this, again, going back to that kind of strategic thinking of, is this the right spot for us? That's probably something that, the board down the road is going to have to revisit. Do we stay here as an HQ? Those are things that you will learn how to do, to look at leases, to think what's best for the organization. Do we need to make changes? So again, those are just, some of the fun things that you could learn in junior league. And then also stretching your emotional muscles. I think for me, when I was thinking about that, I always knew that the Twin Cities had a huge housing problem. You kind of can't not know it, I suppose, but I didn't really realize all the nuances that came with it, how big of a problem it is, why it's such a problem, what are the issues, until we really dove into that in our impact area, and just getting to dive into that and being more empathetic to the issues that people are facing when it comes to affordable housing in the Twin Cities. That has been big for me. And it's also helped me talk to, I talked to an attorney that deals with evictions, and during the eviction moratorium, and we were just kind of talking through issues that people are facing with that, and just housing issues in general, affordable housing issues. And it's one of those where it's I knew nothing about that until we started working in it and being in leadership and kind of being in those conversations, really getting to understand it, and being able to kind of, just intellectually and emotionally expand in that area. So that is one other thing. And finally, you will fall more in love with your organization. And I think this is so true because, again, I've been in the league for 9 years. And I do think that part of that reason that I've been here for so long, and we have some other people that have been in here for a long time too, those people have been in leadership. And you really get to learn more about your organization. You really fall in love with the work that you do, all the hard work that people put in. It's really great to see. We love seeing that kind of passion for what we do. So it really just makes you want to do more and do everything you can to make the organization successful, make your members successful. So I really think, I do believe that one is true, very much so. All right. So now that we talked about that, and now you're all yes, I'm going to go out for leadership in JLSP. what role is right for you? So we're going to talk a bit about, so we got governance, which is the board, and then we also have management, which is our management team. And they are different, their duties are different. So in the board is oversight. We're not, the board is not necessarily getting into the day-to-day, tasks that are being done. That's not really their job. Their job is more just oversight of, say, the management team to make sure they're going in the right direction of the strategic plan, which, I'm an expert of these days. Okay, strategic plan. The board develops the strategic plan. That is, our 5-year plan of where we're seeing the league goal, the goals that we want to accomplish to grow the league. We develop that, revisit it from time to time to see if there's any changes that need to be made. But overall, the board is responsible for the strategic direction of the league. And then policies, which is my personal favorite. The board, I'm going to say we a lot because I am on the board right now, sorry, but the board is in charge of policies and procedures, revisiting those, making updates as necessary to that. So if you love policies and procedures, this is the place for you. And then fiduciary duties. The board directors, board members have fiduciary duties. If you would like to do a deep dive into fiduciary duties, please see me because I also love that as well. Angela, I don't want to volunteer you, but I'm sure she would also happily talk to you about fiduciary duties and policies as well. And then, so management. So the difference there is like governance, oversight, very, very high level. Management is, they are the doers. They are the ones that are, implementing. I think I have implementation down here, so I'm just going to throw it up here. They're the doers. They implement that strategic plan. They're the ones that are going to okay, here's our strategic plan. We're going to do X, Y, and Z to fulfill that goal, to get to that goal. So they're, the day-to-day operations. That's the difference of board and management. So when you're thinking about leadership, you can think you can play to your strengths, or you can play to things that you would like to develop. So if you're like, yeah, I love policies and procedures, sign me up. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. Maybe you want to go out for a board position, or on the other end of the spectrum, you're like, wow, I've never done any strategic planning like me the first time I was on board. I'm like, I'd like to learn more about that. Board is a great place to do it. And same with management. If you're like, I've never I'm always thinking at work or wherever, I'm always doing high level stuff. I never get to do boots on the ground, go out into the community, do the work. Management might be for you. So that is kind of the difference between the two. And when you're thinking about, what you want to do, just kind of know that that's the difference between board and management team. And normally we go through the roles and, talk about this person does this person does that, but we're a fairly small league. You probably know generally what the managers do, what they're in charge of. And honestly, I've never been in all of those roles. So I don't feel competent enough to tell you this is exactly what you're going to do. So that's why I wanted to keep it more high level, and then encourage you to reach out to the people that are in those roles right now, because honestly, they are going to be the best person to tell you what it's like, what they do, what a day in the life looks like. It's not going to be me, because I've never been finance manager. I could not tell you what you're going to be doing. It's just, it would be irresponsible, because it would probably be completely wrong, or I'd just be reading off a paper, and that's not going to be very helpful either. So now that we know the difference between board management, and you can kind of get a better sense of what you might like to do, I just want to go over some resources. So this is my lovely screenshot of, if you go to member resources and nominating and placement resources, you will find the packet that has the job descriptions. I totally blanked on the name, but the document that has, all the jobs and, kind of the outline of what their duties are, a calendar, that kind of thing, to get a better sense of it as well. And then, again, I will send these out. These all have links in them too. So there's some resources. This is a really interesting one. It is the Junior League Civic Leadership Competencies, and it's literally in alphabetical order all of the leadership competencies that you will learn in junior league, which I thought was really great. So it's like, you can go there and be like, oh, what are some competencies? Like, I would like to learn that. Like that is what you will learn in leadership in junior league. This is, I think it's from Winter Leadership 2020, but Vicki Clark, many people here know who Vicki Clark is. She is amazing. This is one of her, I think, talks from, again, I think it was Winter Leadership 2020 on servant leadership. She is the servant leader queen. Like, she is very, very knowledgeable about it. So I thought of her a lot in my class last semester when all we talked about was servant leadership. And I was like, man, I wish Vicki Clark was teaching this class. This is a list of 10 books every nonprofit leader should read. It is from Joan Gary, because again, she's also my hero. But it's just, if you're interested in some more books about nonprofit leadership, nonprofits in general, it's a really great list of some books that are helpful. And then this is a link to Joan Gary's podcast, Nonprofits Are Messy. It is a wealth of information, not just on leadership, but honestly, there's a wealth of information on fundraising, just handling conflict, anything that involves a nonprofit. It's all in there, and she's really great and really fun. And I will say, one of my favorite podcasts of her was an interview she did with her wife, and it was called, I think it was like The Makings of a Terrible Board Member. And it was her wife that was the terrible board member. When we're thinking about doers versus, governance, her wife was very much a doer, and she was on this board, and she was just getting so frustrated. She was like, I just want to do, and you're over here talking about policy and thinking about this. And she's like, I can't take it. So just know that not everybody's a doer, or not everybody's, a governance person. Not everybody loves getting into policies and procedures. And that is totally okay, because we need managers in the league. We need those doers that are like, yes, I want to get the work done. Like, let's go. Like, please stop wasting my time with your document retention policy. Like, do not care. And that's totally okay. So I encourage you to seek out that podcast, because it was really great. And just know that nonprofits take all kinds. Not everybody is going to be the strategic thinker. I don't know if I am really still, but I try. And then finally, again, because I've not been in every role and I'm not competent to speak on every role, these are the names and the emails of everybody that is currently on leadership. So I encourage you to reach out to them, just set up a little one-to-one time, or come to Nikki's Brew Hop and you can chat with them there. You can, if you're interested in membership, go there, chat with Nikki. I'm sure she would love to talk to you about it. But really, that is the best way to learn about the role, what you're going to be doing, what it's like. Because again, we can put it on paper and be like, yes, this is a typical, year in the finance manager's life, or a typical year in the communications manager life. But that only does so much. And I definitely feel like it's much more helpful to hear it from the person that's experiencing it right now, because they're experiencing it right now. And then I don't know if Anna was on here, but I was going to say, feel free to reach out to her as well. I know she'd be happy to talk to anybody as a past president and EVP. She is more than happy to chat with you if you just want to talk about those positions or just leadership in general. She would be happy to chat with you, but you can find her in the directory and get her email address that way too. And so with that, does anybody have any questions for me? Oh, also, sorry, Erica, another thing I learned in junior league, finally, after 9 years, is how to use Digital Cheetah. And I was able to get the nominating form up on Digital Cheetah, and it is working. So if you go back to here, here under the nominating placement resources, you will find, and I bolded it, 2022, 2023 leadership nominating form. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but something like that. So it is out there, it is open. And timeline wise, it is open now. It will be open until February 24th. And then after that, interviews for positions will be that first week of March. And then we will notify people after all interviews are done, after the committee meets. And then we will vote on the slate at April GMM. And the slate will, per our bylaws, following procedure, it will be sent out to the membership 2 weeks ahead of time before that April GMM. So that is the timeline, and it's all in the nominating form. It has the dates on there and everything, just so you can double check. And also, please let me know if I got anything wrong on the form. Keep me accountable here. So is there any questions now that I've finished my whole spiel?
I didn't have a question. I just had 2 things to add to like your resources kind of thing.
Mhm.
Kimberly is also on the call. She's a past president. She's also kind of splitting the sustainer board member position with Angela's this year. So she's another great resource to ask questions about the various roles. Many of the people that are on both board and management this year have done almost all of the roles, like as a group. So any number of them can answer any of those questions. And then this is not a pitch, but rather if you are thinking of doing a management or board leadership position for the next year, as somebody who didn't think they would, I take that back. I remember saying like my first year, like, yes, I would like to be president. I'd like to like change a lot of things, like, haha, that'll never happen. 5 years later, it did. But now would be a prime time to get that experience while the league is still small. If you're nervous or concerned about not feeling ready or anything like that, we're small, we're here to learn, we're here to experiment and work on improving ourselves while serving the league. So I would not say to think of it as like a fear thing, but rather an opportunity to explore your leadership skills and development and work on that potential. And then 4 or 5 years down the road, when we are growing and becoming more like our old size, perhaps, you will have those skills under your belt already and will be able to help lead the league in the future too. So think of it that way too. A positive spin that we are small, but it will be less people to stand in front of every meeting too, which is nice.
I have a professional story I can share that I have not been in a role professionally where I've had to manage people or run a team or run a team meeting. And then I joined Junior League and was the community manager for a couple of years. And of course that involves monthly meetings that I had to run and I didn't know what I was doing. So we sort of figured that out together, which for sure Shannon, Caroline, and Lori can attest to, but we sort of muddled through. But I learned a lot from like figuring out how to effectively, get a group of people to meet on a fairly regular basis and kind of work towards common goals and also develop a little bit of camaraderie and feel like you're sort of all in this together. And now I do have to lead team meetings every week and those responsibilities are increasing and I feel prepared for it now professionally. So it's not that there isn't a lot at stake in Junior League because I certainly care about it, but it felt like such a safe space to develop some of those skills and feel more prepared for when the stakes do feel higher because it's work now and I am paid for that and I'm going to be evaluated on it. And so now it's exciting to have that opportunity, but also feel like, okay, I can do this and I'm not going to be perfect at it, but I don't feel like I'm walking into it completely blind either and trying to figure it out as I go. So that was a huge help to me.
Definitely. And Kimberly knows when I was EVP the first time, I was our second EVP, new to the role. And oh boy, that was a learning experience. But I learned so much, not only about the league, but just like how to be a leader in general. And yeah, made it out unscathed and was EVP a second time even. Like it didn't scare me away from it. Even I was like, I felt more prepared. I was like, all right, I know what I'm getting myself into now for the most part. So yeah, so like Mary said, like even if you're like, I have no idea how to do this role, like that's okay. We'll help you. There's somebody in the league that's done it before. They can be a resource, but the league is a great way to learn how to do things that you don't know how to do or that you would like to learn how to do. It's just like Mary said, it's a safe environment to develop those skills because that is at the end of the day, what we are as an organization. We're here to train civic leaders. We're here to train women. So with that, I don't remember what's next on the agenda, but Erica will tell us.
Can you all see the PowerPoint once again? I think so. Okay, so yeah, so we just have a few more things to chat about, not really more, but a few final reminders as we wrap up the meeting here. Okay, so I will ask the community committee. We have a slide for you here, Caroline, if you want to chat about bingo next week.
Yeah, so bingo is on Tuesday, the 15th, and 6 to 8 at Emma Norton. We've got a couple people signed up. We could have a couple more join us. I'm really excited. Lauren's gonna call bingo, so who doesn't love her? And it should be a fun time. So sign up as in Digital Cheetah, and if you can't make it but want to donate, there's still that link to the Amazon wish list for prizes. Couple other announcements. We've really been pushing the advocacy thing, and this will be in the next newsletter as well. But I wanted to remind everyone that Beacon has the rent is due information. That's a weekly meeting. They're actually kicking it off next Monday, the 14th, 8:30 in the morning to 9:30. It's their legislative kickoff session. It's going to be Zoom, very exciting. And they also this year have a new session called Beacon Now, where they talk about what Beacon's doing, give some call to action. And next one's on the 9th. So what is today? It's tomorrow from 2:30 to 2 to 2:30. And that session is covering the role of the Met Council in supporting affordable housing and why it's so important to the mission that all people have a home. So straight up our alley. And then on the 10th, they also have a lobby day training that'll prepare you for the Minnesota Coalition for the Homeless Virtual Homeless Day on the Hill. So that is coming up. The Homeless Day on the Hill, which we've taken part in before, is the 9th through the 11th, and that is virtual this year, so you can set up times during the day to meet with your legislators and get more involved. So I recommend signing up for that. I'll put links in the new newsletter so you can find all how to get involved. So that's it. Thanks.
I just want to say something really fast. I thought this was so cool. When I was listening to NPR on the way to work this morning, I heard an interview that was a lady. It was like a lady that was working on housing, homelessness and everything. She was like, and that's why I think Beacon is so great. And that's why I work with Beacon. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. She said it was a great organization. Thought it was so cool.
That's awesome. The newsletter will be going out hopefully tomorrow or Thursday. So definitely take a look at for those links to come your way. And as always, if you have any questions about where to find that information, you can reach out to Caroline directly via email or post it in the Facebook group, and somebody from community will see that and respond to you as well. Let's see. Okay, membership. I just have a slide here for Nikki if you want to chat about the brew hops coming up. I did put the March one in here too.
Perfect. So yes, 2 brew hops next week, next Thursday, a week from Thursday, Clutch. Hope to see some people there. And then we also have another one scheduled for March 15th at St. Paul Brewing. Just come opportunities to get together, hang out, and hop around to some different breweries. Again, we are giving away a prize for people who attend those brew hops. You will get a gift card to a brewery. So if that is up your alley, you will be in the running. Other than that, I just want to remind people to get their bingo card filled out. For those of you that, again, like a little competition and like getting gifts, we will have a drawing at the annual meeting, giving away a prize for people who complete their bingo card or get the most bingos, all of those types of things. So encouraging everybody to participate in a variety of activities that are really why we are in league. So I think that's all that I've got. The bingo card is located under member resources. So that screenshot that Marissa had given you, if you just click on the main member resources, it's on that page down there. So it'll be right there, and we will ask everybody just to turn them in at the end of April, and then we will see kind of who's done the most, who's got a unique bingo pattern. All of our love of bingo in junior league. So that's all I've got. Oh, and I would also just say anybody that is interested in a leadership role, I've held almost every single role in junior league, not in this specific league. So if you have questions, I'm happy to help answer any of them. And I really encourage you to take on a leadership position because it really does strengthen your relationship with an organization. It also gives you the opportunity to work with a variety of different people that have different experiences than you. And that has really helped me in my professional career. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Nikki. We should have added bingo as one of the love languages for junior league specifically, but maybe, we'll keep that in mind for next time. Let's see here. What do we got else up on here? Fund development committee updates. Mary?
Yeah, that's me. And all I wanted to talk about was to encourage anyone who's free still this weekend, this Saturday night, to come tubing with us. We've got the whole hill to ourselves, $15 a person or $30 a family. We'll do drinks and snacks. You can RSVP in Digital Cheetah, and I think actually you can also go through the website. You don't actually have to log in to be able to register for this one necessarily because it's intended to be a fundraiser for the league as well. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you there, and bring a friend, maybe that person you've been talking to about junior league just would want to come along for some outdoor winter fun. So
Sounds great. We just have a couple other announcements here. Look, we're going to end on time too, which is amazing. So I wanted to make you aware of the upcoming GMMs. So March and April will be voting meetings this year. April is traditionally when we vote on the slate. March, the March meeting, which is on March 8th, we have one bylaw that we will be presenting to membership to vote on. And while we don't have the language of it yet, basically it will be talking about changing the due dates for membership dues, and then also changing the late fee associated with late payment. So the membership due amount is not changing. We are just going to bump up the due date by a few weeks to line up with when the letters go out, when the annual meeting occurs, and when we are due to pay our league dues into the AJLI system. So that is the rationale behind that. Again, we will present more information about that at the meeting, and you will get a voting packet, email notification before the meeting itself. And then the April meeting, like Marissa mentioned earlier, is when we vote on the slate. So again, you will receive notification prior to the meeting with how to vote and when to vote. The locations are still to be determined at this point. We are hopeful that we could have them in person, maybe even at the Coven, depending on what the group size limitations are at that point. But we will keep you informed as to when, or rather where we will be meeting for March and April. So just know that that's coming up. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer them for you. But like I said, dues amounts are not going to be changing. It's just the timeline of when they are due, and then also the late fees associated with those. The last thing I had on here was just a couple of in-person supper clubs coming up. So let's do the February one on February 23rd at Machete Cocina Mexicana in Woodbury. Apparently they have this like quesadilla that's about 1.5 feet long, and it's right by the Costco. So everybody can double dip and hit both Costco and the restaurant that night. So please RSVP in Digital Cheetah. The other I put on here as well for March supper club, we're going to go to the 5-8 Club in West St. Paul. That'll be Thursday the 10th. So that'll be 2 days after the March GMM. And please RSVP in Digital Cheetah again on that one. We'll figure out where we're going to go in April, and then hopefully start setting some summer supper club outdoor dates too as the spring approaches here. And lastly, again, anytime you're posting about Junior League on social media, we just ask you to, if you could tag us in your picture, add some hashtags, JLSP and me, experience JLSP, hashtag we love St. Paul, hashtag it up, and we will repost, retweet, regram your pictures as well. And with that being said, just a reminder, if you haven't yet signed in, here is the link to do so, and we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. So I will stop recording right now, and that will be it. Thank you all